NHL by the era, 21st century. The 21st century in the NHL was filled with the most talent in the history of the game, and also had a couple of dynasties also. It was also marked by significant moments, rule changes, expansions, and the emergence of new stars. In this episode of NHL by the Eras, I will talk about the NHL during the 21st century, as well as the top players in the era. The new millennium began with the Colorado Avalanche winning the Stanley Cup in 2001. The Colorado Avalanche were a powerhouse that year, which was led by a core of Joe Sakic, Patrick Waugh, Peter Forsberg, Rob Blake, and Ray Bourque. The signature moment of this Stanley Cup was Ray Bourque lifting the Stanley Cup to send him out a winner. The Edmonton Oilers hosted the NHL's first regular season outdoor hockey game, the Heritage Classic, on November 22, 2003. The game was against the Montreal Canadiens, which was held at Commonwealth Stadium before a then record crowd of over 57,000 fans who had to endure temperatures as low as negative 18 degrees Celsius. After the lockout in the 04-05 season, the NHL introduced several rule changes. In order to increase offense and reduce obstruction, the NHL eliminated the two-line offside pass and the implementation of a trapezoid behind the net to limit goaltender puck handling. One of the most controversial changes was the league's zero-tolerance policy on obstruction penalties. The league hoped the game would open up if it cracked down on clutching and grabbing. In addition, shootouts were added after a 5-minute overtime period to decide tie games. The success of the Heritage Classic led to the scheduling of more outdoor games. The Buffalo Sabres hosted the 2008 NHL Winter Classic on New Year's Day in 2008, losing to the Pittsburgh Penguins in a shootout before a record crowd of over 71,000 fans at Ralph Wilson Stadium. After the success of the Winter Classic, on every New Year's Day, an outdoor game is played, and it is usually one of the highest rated games of the year outside of the playoffs. Other outdoor games such as the Stadium Series were later introduced to showcase the sport in iconic venues. The following years saw the emergence of young stars like Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, and Henrik Lundqvist, all first ballot Hall of Famers. I've already talked about Crosby and Ovechkin in another video, but in short, their rivalry and greatness brought the sport to new heights. Henrik Lundqvist, who recently was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, played for the New York Rangers his entire career and holds all major records for New York Rangers goalies. The Pittsburgh Penguins and Chicago Blackhawks were the two major dynasties in the NHL during the 21st century. The Pittsburgh Penguins won the Stanley Cup in 2009, as well as back-to-back cups in 2016 and 2017, giving them a total of 3 cups in the 21st century. Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin were the dynamic duo who led the charge in all 3 of their cups. Malkin won playoff MVP in 2009, Crosby in 2016 and 2017. The Chicago Blackhawks experienced a resurgence in the late 2000s, and by the 2010s, they were a dynasty, winning the Stanley Cup in 2010, 2013, and 2015. Led by a trio of superstars such as Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, and Duncan Keith, the Blackhawks became one of the most dominant teams of the decade. All 3 of these players were named to the NHL's greatest players list in 2017. The financially struggling Atlanta Thrashers were eventually sold to True North Sports and Entertainment in 2011, who then relocated the team to Winnipeg. In 2013, the NHL realigned its divisions and playoff format. The league moved from 6 divisions to 4, and the playoffs introduced a divisional-based format with wildcard spots. In 2015, Connor McDavid was drafted first overall by the Edmonton Oilers after being hyped as a generational talent along the likes of Crosby and Lemieux. As tough as it was for McDavid to live up to those lofty expectations, he has been the best player in the league since 2017. McDavid has led the league in point scoring 5 times since he's entered the league. He's won the Ted Lindsay 4 times and the Hart Trophy 3 times. He has an impressive 303 goals, 547 assists, and 850 points in 569 games. He could hit the 1,000-point mark in his career if he can put up more than 150 points next season. In 2017, the league expanded again to Las Vegas, Nevada, with the Vegas Golden Knights entering the NHL, bringing the league to a total of 31 41 teams. 6 years later in 2023, the Vegas Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup, making them the youngest expansion team to win the Stanley Cup. The Tampa Bay Lightning won back-to-back Stanley Cup championships in 2020 and 2021, and are widely considered to be a modern-day dynasty. Led by a core of Andrei Vasilevsky, Nikita Kucherov, Steven Stamkos, Victor Hedman, and Braden Point, Tampa was a force to reckon with from 2019 to 2022. In 2021, the Seattle Kraken became the league's 32nd team, further expanding its presence on the West Coast. After missing the playoffs in their inaugural season, they made the playoffs in their second season before losing to Dallas in 7 games. This wraps up the NHL by the Era series. I will have a new series in place of this one when it comes time for it.